Welcome to Crosscurrents, our weekly forum for dissecting complex societal issues. Today we're delving into a particularly pertinent question in our digital age. Should fact-checking groups label media content as biased or false? This topic touches upon freedom of speech, the responsibility of media, and the public's right to accurate information, making it a critical discussion for our times. The implications are significant for how we consume news and understand the world around us. Joining us are two distinguished guests, Ben, a media literacy advocate who believes such labels are vital, and Chloe, an experienced journalist concerned about the potential pitfalls. We'll begin with opening statements, followed by rebuttals, a discussion, and then closing remarks.
Thank you, Sarah. I firmly believe that clear, concise labels applied by independent fact-checking organizations are not just beneficial, but absolutely essential in today's saturated media environment. They serve as a crucial tool for enhancing media literacy among the general public. We are constantly bombarded with information from countless sources, and it's increasingly difficult for the average person to distinguish credible journalism from sophisticated misinformation or propaganda. The detrimental impact of this confusion is undeniable. It erodes public trust, polarizes communities, and can even influence critical decisions related to health, finance, and democracy. Consider the real-world consequences: manipulated election outcomes, public health crises exacerbated by false narratives, and a general decline in reasoned public discourse. These are not abstract threats. They are tangible harms fueled by the unchecked proliferation of falsehoods. Labels such as false, misleading, unsubstantiated, or biased provide immediate context. They act as signposts, empowering individuals to navigate this complex information landscape with greater awareness and critical judgment. It's about giving people a first line of defense, a quick indicator that a piece of content warrants closer scrutiny. This isn't about censorship or silencing dissenting voices, as some might fear. The original content remains accessible. Instead, it's about equipping citizens with the necessary tools to evaluate information critically. It's about fostering an informed populace capable of making sound judgments based on verified facts, rather than deceptive narratives. Reputable fact-checking groups strive for transparency in their methodologies, often adhering to strict codes of principles. The goal is to provide an objective assessment based on evidence, not to impose a particular viewpoint. The benefits of a more informed citizenry capable of discerning truth from falsehood far outweigh the hypothetical risks when such systems are implemented responsibly and transparently.
Thank you, Sarah. While I share Ben's concern about misinformation, I approach the idea of fact-checking groups labeling media with significant reservations. The practice, however well-intentioned, is fraught with complexities and potential dangers that could ultimately harm the very principles of free press and open discourse we aim to protect. My primary concern lies with the inherent subjectivity involved. Who decides what constitutes false, misleading, or biased? These terms are not always clear-cut. What one person or group deems a blatant falsehood, another might see as a legitimate interpretation, or a valid, albeit controversial, opinion. Placing this power in the hands of any single group, no matter how ostensibly independent, is problematic. There's a considerable risk that dissenting opinions, investigative journalism challenging powerful interests, or viewpoints from less mainstream sources could be unfairly targeted and labeled. This could lead to a homogenization of thought, where only officially sanctioned narratives are deemed acceptable, effectively stifling crucial debate and diverse perspectives. Furthermore, I worry about the potential chilling effect on journalism. If reporters and news organizations fear being slapped with a negative label that could damage their reputation or lead to algorithmic demotion on digital platforms, they might self-censor. They might shy away from tackling controversial subjects or publishing stories that are difficult to verify instantly, even if they are in the public interest. And what about the accountability and impartiality of these fact-checking organizations themselves? Who fact-checks the fact-checkers? While many strive for transparency, they are not immune to their own biases, funding pressures, or political leanings, whether conscious or unconscious. The power to label is the power to influence, and that power must be scrutinized intensely.
Chloe raises valid points about subjectivity and potential bias, and these are concerns that the fact-checking community takes very seriously. However, it's important to recognize that many reputable organizations operate with a high degree of transparency regarding their methodologies, funding, and correction policies. For instance, the International Fact-Checking Network, IFCN, at Poynter, has a stringent code of principles that signatories must adhere to, covering nonpartisanship, fairness, and transparency of sources and methods. Regarding the censorship argument, this is a common misconception. Labeling is not about removing content or banning publications, it's about adding a layer of contextual information for the consumer. The original article or post usually remains fully accessible. The label simply provides an additional perspective based on evidence, allowing readers to make a more informed decision about the content's credibility. It's an additive process, not a subtractive one. The core objective, as I mentioned, is to empower users, not to punish media outlets or dictate what people should think. In an ideal world, everyone would have the time and skills to meticulously vet every piece of information they encounter. But realistically, that's not feasible. These labels serve as a helpful, though not infallible, shortcut to critical assessment. The danger of allowing unchecked misinformation to proliferate and cause real-world harm is, in my view, far greater than the risks associated with carefully considered, transparently applied labels.
Ben, I appreciate the emphasis on transparency and codes of conduct like the IFCN's. These are positive steps. However, adherence to a methodology doesn't entirely eliminate the risk of unconscious bias, or even systemic bias, which can subtly influence the interpretation of facts and the application of labels. Even the choice of what to fact-check can reflect underlying priorities or biases. And while it's true that content might not be overtly removed, the impact of a, quote, false or biased label can be functionally similar to censorship. Such labels can drastically reduce a story's visibility on social media platforms due to algorithmic suppression. They can severely damage the reputation of a journalist or a publication, making it harder for them to reach their audience or be taken seriously, regardless of the validity of their broader work. Furthermore, the appeals processes for outlets that dispute a label are often opaque or insufficiently robust. What recourse does a smaller, independent media outlet truly have against a powerful fact-checking organization if they believe a label is unjust? And we cannot ignore the very real concern that these labels can be, and sometimes are, weaponized by political or corporate interests to discredit critical reporting or inconvenient truths. The label itself becomes a tool in information warfare.
Thank you both for those insightful rebuttals. Ben, Chloe raises a crucial point about the potential weaponization of labels and the impact on smaller outlets. Beyond transparency, how can we ensure true accountability for fact-checking organizations, especially if they err?
That's a critical question, Sarah. Accountability can be strengthened through multiple avenues. Independent oversight boards, public reporting of error rates and corrections, and robust, easily accessible appeals processes are key. Perhaps even a system of peer review among fact-checking organizations could help maintain standards. Furthermore, fostering a culture where questioning and critiquing fact checks is welcomed, rather than seen as an attack on the enterprise itself, is important for continuous improvement.
Chloe, are there viable alternatives to direct labeling for combating misinformation, perhaps focusing more on what you mentioned about media outlets' internal processes?
I believe strengthening the internal fact-checking and ethical review processes within media organizations is crucial. It's about preventing misinformation at the source, or at least within established journalism. Alongside this, a massive investment in media literacy education is vital. We need to teach people how to be critical consumers of all information, rather than relying on a third party to tell them what's true or false.
Media literacy is essential, I agree, but it's a long-term solution. Labeling offers immediate contextual information for people navigating a complex and often misleading digital environment right now. Think of it as a nutritional label for information, not telling you what to eat, but giving you information to make a better choice. The two approaches are complementary, not mutually exclusive.
A significant challenge is the speed and volume of information. Ben, can labels be applied accurately and swiftly enough, especially with viral content?
It's a constant battle. Technology like AI can help identify potential misinformation for review, and collaboration among international fact-checking networks allows for a quicker response to globally spreading narratives. It's not about catching every single piece of false content, but about addressing the most viral and potentially harmful claims to mitigate their impact.
But that speed can lead to errors, Ben. And a premature or incorrect label, even if later corrected, can cause significant reputational damage that's hard to undo. The pressure to be fast shouldn't compromise accuracy or fairness. Sometimes, a rush to judgment can be more harmful than the misinformation itself, especially if it silences legitimate, albeit controversial, viewpoints.
In closing, the digital age has presented us with unprecedented access to information, but also unprecedented challenges in discerning truth from falsehood. In this environment, clear, context-providing labels from credible, transparent fact-checking organizations are not a panacea, but they are a necessary component of a multifaceted strategy to foster a more informed citizenry. The intention, I must reiterate, is not to dictate truth or suppress legitimate debate, but to provide citizens with additional tools for critical thinking and discernment. It's about empowering individuals to navigate the information landscape with more confidence and to make decisions based on the best available evidence. We must continue to support and refine robust, transparent, and accountable fact-checking systems. They are a vital public service, helping to safeguard the integrity of our information ecosystem and, by extension, the health of our democracies. The alternative, allowing misinformation to flourish unchecked, is far too dangerous.
To conclude, while the fight against misinformation is one we all share, I urge caution against an over-reliance on labeling systems managed by any group, however well-intentioned. The inherent dangers of centralizing the determination of truth, the unavoidable risks of bias, however subtle, and the potential for stifling legitimate discourse and diverse viewpoints are too significant to ignore. The more sustainable and democratic path lies in empowering individuals directly. This means a profound and widespread commitment to media literacy education, fostering critical consumption skills from an early age. It also means demanding greater transparency and accountability from media outlets themselves regarding their sources and methods. Let us focus on building a discerning public, capable of navigating complexity, rather than outsourcing our critical judgment. The pursuit of truth is a continuous process of inquiry and debate, not a destination reached by applying a simple label. We must be wary of solutions that, in trying to protect us, may inadvertently curtail the very freedoms of expression and thought that underpin a healthy society.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Chloe, for this engaging and thought-provoking debate. You've both articulated your positions with clarity and passion, highlighting the profound complexities surrounding the issue of labeling media content. Ben has argued for labels as an essential tool for media literacy and combating misinformation, emphasizing public empowerment. Chloe has cautioned against the risks of bias, potential censorship, and the overreach of such labeling, advocating for media literacy education and journalistic integrity. There are clearly no easy answers, but your insights have given our audience much to consider. We encourage everyone to continue reflecting on these important questions. Thank you for joining us on Cross Currents.